So previously I did a video proving that you can beat Pokemon Emerald Kaizo without using attacking moves, and for someone like me who loves to use brute force to make their way through these kinds of games, it was an interesting shake-up, but not without its own flaws. I'm not beyond self-evaluation of my work, and so my biggest criticism of myself was that the team that I used didn't exactly have a legal moveset. It was done purely for fun, entertainment and exploration, but that doesn't change the fact it wasn't legal. I aim to rectify that by asking whether or not I can beat the Pokemon Emerald No Attacking Moves Challenge. Just to be clear, this isn't just a No Attacking Moves Challenge, it's a single Pokemon challenge as well. I've trawled through the list of all 386 Pokemon available up to Gen 3, and only 2 stood out as potentially viable options. One of these was Celebi. At level 5, the level we get our starter, Celebi will know Leech Seed. I believe it's the only Pokemon that has a damaging non-attacking move from the get-go. That said, Celebi is essentially what you get if you cross Mew with Snoop Dogg, and as such tends to be a little overpowered. There is one other Pokemon that learns this move at a very early level, and by now I'm sure some of you have figured out which one I'll be using. Type your guesses in the comment section below now and see if you're right later on. Oh, by the way, it's just a little bit over 6 AM while I'm recording this now, so if you hear any construction work or seagulls, I apologise, it's just the way it goes. The game begins and we choose the male character, naming ourselves Breph, purely for continuity's sake at this point. From there we go and set the clock before heading into our neighbour's house and attempting to commit petty theft, but we get caught and hightail it out of there. At this point we're tasked with rescuing the tree man from battering a small pup with his morning wooden branch. Question is, what is our starter going to be? Is it A, Torchic, B, Mudkip, or C, Bulbasaur? Wait, Bulbasaur? Yeah, that's right. As we choose Bulba and growl away at the Zigzagoon, I have absolutely zero regrets.
He's lying!
But you might be asking yourself, how exactly do you earn XP enough to the point of gaining levels? Well, this is where the controversy comes in. As an example, I'll show you. In short, we get into an encounter, use Tackle a couple of times, and run away before the opponent faints. This, with a lot of saving and resetting to make sure we didn't take damage, is how I whittled down my Tackle PP. Of course, we can't use an attacking move to gain XP, so how might it be done? The answer, as you may have figured out by now, is Struggle. Struggle, for those who might not know, is the default backup for if your Pokemon depletes its PP to 0 on all its moves. It cannot be learned by level up, by TM or by move tutor, and it is in fact the opposite of a move. Struggle, for want of a better term, is the absence of a move. It's the anti-move, if you will. Now, I cannot use an attacking move as per the rules of this challenge, but it didn't say anything about using the absence of a move. So this is what I did. I struggled away and at best defeated 2 or 3 Pokemon before fainting and having to do it all over again. Fortunately, before too long, relatively speaking, we level up 2 times to level 7 and learn Leech Seed. It's at this point that Struggle is no longer allowed to be used at any point in the run. I often get comments such as, how did you get X Pokemon? And if you've made it this far, then you deserve to know. I use a program called the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to randomize my starter, but if you're not using an emulator, you could do this simply by playing Emerald up until the point where you beat May, catching a second Pokemon and trading a Bulbasaur over from Fire Red or Leaf Green and going from that way. The upside to that would actually be that you would have access to Ralts, and that's a guaranteed way of being able to lower your PP without taking any damage, so technically would make your life easier. A lot easier than mine was. With Leech Seed on our moveset, the game progresses smoothly. Slowly, but smoothly. Eventually we're strong enough to challenge May, and Torchic doesn't even have Ember yet, so it really wasn't too bad. We set up our seed and growl to stall turns, eventually knocking her out. This doesn't mean we're in the clear just yet though, as Emerald actually forces us to think ahead. With our current move, we cannot attack grass types, and as a grass type ourselves, we have to be really careful about flying types. For example, this youngster here starts off fine with his easy to defeat Zigzagoon, but then brings out a Taillow. Leech Seed isn't quite good enough to save us from that one, and even if we have an Oran Berry as a held item, we still die. Likewise, directly after him is this lass, who once again starts out fine with a Zigzagoon, but she now has a Shroomish, a grass type, and one we physically cannot do damage to right now. We'll need to navigate around them and come back later. Fortunately, that's all the game throws at us before Petalburg, and here we get to accompany Wally to go and catch his only friend. Has anyone ever seen a Sandslash use Tackle on a Spearow before? Or better yet, Sandslash use Tackle full stop? Never mind though, we get to move on. Now, after defeating a lot of wild Pokemon and trainers, eventually Bulbasaur reaches level 15, and this is where the game becomes exponentially easier. At this level, Bulbasaur learns both Poison Powder and Sleep Powder. While not 100% accurate, if we couple poison damage with Leech Seed, every battle runs a lot smoother. We replace Tackle and Vine Whip, and finally, we have a Bulbasaur with no attacking moves. Sleep Powder comes in handy at this stage to stall out harder hitting Pokemon to help us regain some HP with Leech Seed, by the way. Not particularly useful in every situation, but for now it'll do. So the first gym awaits us, and Roxanne has a team of 3, 2 Geodude and 1 Nosepass. On our first Geodude we set up Leech Seed and then put it to sleep. I don't think that was necessary, but it's a fine example of the strategy to come. We use Growl to lower the attack of its Rock Tombs and Rock Slides as Leech Seed drains HP before it wakes up, and we lay down the Poison Powder, eventually causing her to use a potion. I gung-ho it for the second Geodude and immediately forego the sleep in favour of hitting the poison. Much like the first, she eventually drains her second and final potion. When Nosepass comes out, there isn't much left to say. We put it to sleep to recover HP, poison it after it awakens, and slowly growl stall our way to victory, thus claiming the first badge. Ooh, cheesy but easy. Outside the gym, a random man chases after a thug for stealing a briefcase full of goods, probably from Colombia based off the vague description of what's inside, and he tasks us with going to retrieve it. Great, nothing like becoming an accessory to smuggling in your favourite kids game now, is there? Nevertheless, we do just that, and on the way out of Rustborough, we're challenged by May. Now this fight may be reset a couple of times because our Torchic now knows Ember, and our first Pokemon is Loaded, so we can't even gain HP recovery from Leech Seed. We rely on poison damage to take down the Loaded and immediately put Torchic to sleep before setting up the seed and waiting for some recovery. The second it wakes up, we lay down Poison Powder and clench harder than we would in a prison shower, hoping and praying to the Lord above Arceus that we get lucky. Speaking of Arceus, I'll be doing a Let's Play of Legends Arceus on the main channel, rather than my second channel, so look forward to that coming out soon too. Second channel is linked in the description, go check it out, where I'll be uploading a new episode of Pokemon Mythic Legends sometime over the next week. As you can tell from the footage on screen during that shameless plug, we made our way to Dewford and into the cave to collect not only the Everstone, which I'll be using as my held item where I can, but also Steven's number and favourite TM. I then jump into the fighting type gym, knock out all the trainers for easy XP, and challenge Brawly. Thankfully for us, Brawly's whole deal is showing off Bulk Up, and he likes to use it on Machop. It isn't so much a free turn as his attack stat is raised, putting us at risk, but it isn't far off. Leech Seed and poison damage are key. One thing to note is that in terms of moves like Bide and Focus Punch, poison and Leech Seed damage don't count as damage. This is really good for Bide, as it means the move fails and we essentially get 3 turns of free damage. Try saying that 10 times really quickly. Focus Punch is the other way, and it guarantees the move will hit. Fortunately for us, Growler's worked here and Meditite doesn't hurt us too badly. While Makuhita has potential to kill us with Seismic Toss, it doesn't choose it nearly as often as it should, and before too long, we have 2 badges. In Slateport, there's one of 4 minor changes to the moveset that take place. If we go into the Pokemon fan club and talk to this NPC, he'll teach us the move Swagger. Swagger raises your opponent's attack stat to its +6 maximum, but also makes the opponent confused. On Bulbasaur, it's such a high risk, high reward strategy, but it gives us a new way to damage opponents. And actually gives us a way to damage opponents like Oddish and Roselia going forwards throughout the run. Grass poison types were, up until now, immune to any form of our damage, but now nothing stands in our way. No matter what combination of Pokemon types we face, we now have at least one way to deal some form of damage. I also replaced Sleep Powder with Sweet Scent along the way, as lowering the opponent's evasion should make it easier for us to hit Swagger once confusion wears off for the first time. Speaking of first time, is it your first time on the channel? Hit that like button on this video to show your support and consider hitting subscribe. It's free, helps out the channel a lot, and you can always undo it at a later stage for no extra charge. But now back onto the run and our swanky new move. Now we have Swagger, I look for a way to show it off by facing May once again. I was worried at first with her having not only Lombre, but Combusken and Wingull, who can do serious harm to us. Her Wingull comes out and does significant damage through confusing us with Supersonic and Wing Attack spam, just as I feared. Fortunately, we get Leech Seed, Poison Powder and Swagger on our side, allowing us to regain enough HP to face Combusken. We fight through confusion to lay our own Swagger off first and get super lucky as it hits itself twice in a row, allowing Leech Seed to finish it off, and we took down her worst Pokemon without a single hit taken. Lombre comes out and it's a mixture of Swagger and Poison due to the grass typing, and just like that we're on our way to Moorville, where we eventually challenge Wally. Wally has a Ralts with Synchronize, which actually works nicely in our favour. As a part poison type, the poison effect from Poison Powder is unable to poison us, meaning poison damage will only ever poison and affect Ralts. I said poison a lot there, didn't I? This is also the premise for the move Magic Coat, as even if we use Leech Seed or Poison Powder, we can't actually be affected by them. With Wally down, we can fight Watson, and I was really apprehensive about this one. I knew Magneton had the potential to be horrific with Sonic Boom and a Steel type immunity to poison. I was holding out evolving Bulbasaur until it reached a point of being unreasonable not to, which in my mind was going to be this point. But to my surprise, it was easier than I thought. Voltorb immediately opted for the easy way out, and Electrike took significant damage from Swagger Confusion. A few turns of chipping away at its health bar and one super potion later, we're ready to face my biggest fear. Magneton uses Thunder Wave first, as I expected, but then just spams Shockwave when Sonic Boom would have been more than enough to bring us to low health. That allows us to get Swagger off, and it hits itself twice in a row, moving us onto Manectric, who we Leech Seed, Poison Powder and Swagger, causing it to hit itself, and that is all we need to win. 3 badges down and we edge ever closer to our final moveset. That starts on the way to Meteor Falls, where we pick up the TM for the cheesiest move ever, Double Team. Where Sweet Scent lowers the opponent's evasion, Double Team raises ours, making us much less likely to take damage. Something I figured I'd need for the Fire type gym coming up. We replace Sweet Scent and head into the falls to watch the cutscene with Team Aqua and Magma before doubling back on ourselves to head to the Maxi fight. On the way back, I stumble into a shiny Slugma in the Ashen Grass. A beautiful palette swap if you ask me. Just to let you know, that's 1 in 8,192 odds by the way, and I reserve the right to continue calling myself the luckiest man in Pokemon Challenge running. I immediately caught it, named it Grey Goo because that's exactly what it looks like, and stored it away in our party as a memento. With that, we ride the cable car and our grossly overleveled Frog and I challenge Maxi. I was primarily concerned about his Mightyena using Roar on us, as that would mean a reset, a fear I realised almost right away. Fortunately, second time was the charm, and we set up a Leech Seed, then a Poison Powder, and began spamming Double Team in anticipation of both Roar and the camera up that comes next. After draining a super potion and hitting itself with Swagger, Mightyena goes to sleep and a big hump of a lump comes out. I set up Leech Seed, then intersperse Double Teams between both Poison Powder and Swagger, allowing us to miss a magnitude 7 and drain another super potion. After once more hitting itself in confusion, Zubat is all that remains, and do we really need to talk about that? Leech Seed, Swagger and wait, that's all. Okay, not all, Wing Attack did hurt, but nowhere near enough to get me worried. What did have me worried though was Flannery. Not too sure why, mind you, as her first Numel comes out and misses a takedown before setting up a Sunny Day, allowing me to get off both Leech Seed and Poison Powder free of damage. I then hit 2 double teams before taking a magnitude hit for minimal damage as she uses a hyper potion on her Nummel, allowing me to go +6 in evasion and missing a magnitude 10 in the process, hitting Swagger and finally taking it down without incident. Slugma is the same thing, with it setting up Sunny Day after Leech Seed and being hit with poison and Swagger without hurting me. I allow poison damage to do its thing, and her penultimate Pokemon is Camerupt. Due to the number of turns needed per Pokemon, this one also sets up a Sunny Day first, giving us the Leech Seed advantage. Over the course of the following turns, it hits us with low power moves like Tackle, but in the end gives in to Swagger and Poison, leaving us the frightening prospect of fighting a Torkoal with the sun still up. 5 turns this battle lasted, and all 5 times she tried to hit Overheat with the sun, a deadly move I'm glad I missed. It hits itself in confusion to KO, and we claim the 4th badge fairly easily. Fun fact, this Torkoal is the first 1000 plus XP Pokemon in the game as far as I'm aware. Who knew? Next on my hit list is Norman, and there's nothing really else to do but go straight there in this game, which is annoying because he's quite difficult with our current moveset. Except I lied, there's one thing to do. We head into Fiery Path and manoeuvre the boulders, getting our final move for the run, Toxic. Toxic damage, unlike regular poison damage, increases in punch with every turn taken. Usually this is a good thing all the time, and it still is, but against Norman it comes with just an added risk. Daddy N's gimmick is Facade, a move that deals more damage if the user is under a status effect such as Poison. But Poison is an integral part to my moveset and I just can't go without it. Fortunately, his opening Spinder cares more about using Tita Dance than much else, allowing us to seed it and get 3 double teams off before taking any damage. I managed to get myself some more set up before landing the Toxic and bracing for the incoming Facade, which, as expected, hurts like a truck, but allows us to defeat Spinder. Vigoroth comes out next and has one of the banes of this run, a never miss move in Feint Attack. This is far from the worst one we'll face, but it's enough to be annoying. Even with Toxic up and now all 6 double teams, it spams the only move it knows will hit before getting a brutally lucky slash off. Linoone comes out and misses every single headbutt, even once it drains a hyper potion, allowing Toxic to accrue, and slacking is the final thing in our way. Truant makes this fight easier, as Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger all get set up before we're put to sleep by Yawn, and with that, it was only a matter of time. We beat Norman, and we make our way towards inevitable doom. But first, do you remember a little while ago when I said we had 2 trainers we were going to have to navigate around and come back for later?
We'll need to navigate around them and come back later.
Well, this is when I meant. Thanks to Swagger and Toxic being on the team, the youngster Zigzagoon falls easily, and his Tailo does next to no damage with Peck. The lass, I got cocky with. No, not in that way, cancel the sirens, get your mind out the gutter. I got cocky and set up 6 double teams first, before letting Toxic absolutely destroy her team. They were so much easier with only a few more levels under the belt. With that, we make our way towards the Weather Institute and the unavoidable fight with May. She now leads with a Pelipper, which shockingly does very Pelippery things, such as Spam Protect, Supersonic, and Wing Attack. It isn't a match for our Toxic Leech Seed Smackdown though, mind you, and before long it's Combusken we're facing. It uses Bulk Up twice, but that just allows us to set up on it, and it misses its only attempted peck, before resigning itself to its fate and using Bulk Up once more before dying. Rip Combusken, one bulky boy. Lombre's no different to any other time, and I'm skipping over that to talk about Winona. Now, I was already over-leveled going into this fight, way over-leveled, and foolish old me thought I had a chance, but I spent longer on this fight than I did any other fight in the entire game. She gives us so many different issues to overcome, but the biggest and most apparent one is Aerial Ace, a 60 base power, flying type, never miss move versus Snoop Frog. It was always going to be tough, but I still had hope. I thought I could bait her AI or something to use another move. Not so, we are fragile, and actually too fragile, but Even before that, I had an issue with her Swablu and its moveset. It knows Magic Coat, Safeguard, Aerial Ace, and Perish Song. Sometimes I get lucky. I can set up Toxic and Leech Seed with it using Magic Coat, even sometimes get Swagger off and do some nasty damage. Sometimes I get Perish Songed on the first bloody move. It's a complete toss of a coin. I tried loads of variations to see if her AI had patterns it used, but no, it simply goes that if it fancies using Perish Song, it uses Perish Song and we have to reset. On my best run, I got to Tropius, and without Leech Seed, I just couldn't do it. Hell, I was level 57 and still getting walled. It was very quickly spiralling with Bulbasaur, looking like I'd need to go into the 70s, 80s, or even beyond to win this fight. So I bit the bullet. I removed the Everstone and grew a single level on wild Pokemon, evolving into Ivysaur. I still didn't feel confident though, so I took a punt and evolved one more level into Venusaur. I thought if I had any hope of beating this fight, I needed the best stats I could possibly muster. And still, I found myself a wall. Perish Song was making me want to rip my hair out. The only way I could beat Tropius was with Swagger and luck with hits, which even if I got, I still needed to do the same to Altaria. And don't get me started on Skarmory. It was looking so unlikely to happen, even knocking on the door of level 60. Until this moment. Swablu used Magic Coat on our Leech Seed, which of course doesn't affect us. We then hit Toxic and it does the same thing. In fact, we spam double teams here, and she even drains a Hyper Potion, all while only spamming Magic Coat until her final turn, where she hits an Aerial Ace for a little bit, but goes down practically without harming us. Pelipper switches in and does spam Aerial Ace, even under Swagger, which hurts. But Leech Seed negates a lot of the damage and leaves us at just under full health when Tropius comes in. As a grass type, we can't use Leech Seed, so we hit Toxic first, which actually misses the first time, but hits on the second. We follow up with Swagger, which hits in Confusion. She then gets into this rhythm of spamming Synthesis to negate toxic damage, creeping out for one hit of Aerial Ace, which is just horrific, but she succumbs to poison. Altaria is next, and we get so lucky here. I hit Leech Seed first, anticipating an Aerial Ace, but she uses Dragon Dance, and we get some Vital Recovery in. She then hits herself 4 times in a row with Confusion, either side of using another Hyper Potion. Although she does hit one attack, we finish off Altaria with 101 HP left and 1 Pokemon to go. We set up the seed on Skarmory, who hits itself a few times, and hits us into red health too, but we get the final luck just when we need it, and we beat Winona with 34 HP left. Now do you see what I mean about the stats thing? It was at this point I think I got up and took a walk around the room because I was sat at my laptop for so long with this fight I actually got backache. I decided at this point Venusaur needed a nickname. It deserved uniqueness after all it suffered. So, to quote will.i.am, you are now rocking with the Breph and Bulbabitch. A good stretch later and we found ourselves at the top of Mount Pyre, with Archie giving us the instructions he was supposed to give to Plonk's father over 25 years ago. We're tasked with visiting Maxie after this, and he, like any true gamer, is found deep in his cave, devoid of human contact and staring at Groudon's thick, powerful thighs. He just cannot contain himself, and that once blue ball that he keeps in his bag just erupted all over the poor beast, who ran off to find a towel. In his frustration, Maxie challenges us, but compared to what we just went through, he was an absolute pushover, to say the least. We then find ourselves in Slateport once more to witness Archie commit a brazen crime in broad daylight. I decided to do some investigating here and turned on the walk through walls cheat to see if there was some fancy glitch similar to the Sutopolis glitch, which to my dismay, there isn't. Archie doesn't actually interact with us unless we're on the tile in front of him, causing him to jump into the submarine and head on out of there. Captain Stern is mortified, standing in disbelief in front of us and tasking us to go and find his ship again. A captain without a boat, I thought? No. I turned to him and told him in no uncertain terms, "I'm the captain now. Do you like the captain emote? Do you like some of the other emotes that you're seeing on screen now? Well, why not consider joining the channel as a member? There's a blue join button next to that red subscribe button. Hit that, choose your plan, and get access to these fresh emotes and more. Anyway, the sub's off towards Moss Deep, so that's where our journey shall take us, with Grey Goo making the perfect double battle partner here. I head into the scary psychic gym against Tate at Liza at the
nice
level of 69. I immediately began by using Double Team as the AI targeted Slugma and then hits an easy Earthquake. I counter that by setting up Leech Seeds on both Claydol and Xatu before diving into the double teams. We get hit by Earthquake a couple of times, but the 2 levels of HP recovery undo any and all damage with simplicity. Xatu just spams Calm Mind, which is actually really scary. One Psychic Knife might kill us, but there's no time for that. We get hit by Confuse Ray and pull through enough to toxic Claydol and causing 2 Hyper Potions to be used on the opening 2 Pokemon. I was wrong about Psychic too, as we get hit and it does just under a third of our health bar, which is swiftly recovered thanks to the Seed. Eventually, Claydol goes down and Lunatone gets the Leech Seed treatment, followed by Toxic and another Hyper Potion used on Xatu. From there, it's the waiting game as we whittle down the health bars, my heart skipping a beat as a brutal Psychic lands, but ultimately we do survive, knocking out Xatu and setting up Solrock the same as all the others. Lunatone takes the final Hyper Potion and the double battle gym is won. From here I decide to do some exploration in anticipation of the rest of the game. I use Dive to discover Satopolis and head down towards Pacifilog, but this is where it gets stupid, ladies and gentlemen, because not only was a 1 in 8,192 odds shiny a thing, but we have Mirage Island. Yes, once again I've found this stupidly lucky location in a challenge. The odds? 1 in 65,536 with a single Pokemon, or 1 in 10,923 with a full party. With a party of 4 like I have, the odds are 1 in 16,384. That's twice as unlikely as a shiny appearing. So, while on here, I naturally decided to run through the grass a bit and see what could be found. I realised it was only why not, but seeing as I could kill them and they couldn't damage me, I did some grinding here. I was going to try and get a few levels, but they give out hardly any XP, so I was thinking of abandoning it after just 1. Until this happened. Yes, that is 100% what you are seeing. A second full odds 1 in 8,192 shiny Wynaut appearing on the 1 in 16,384 Mirage Island to bring my total shiny count to 2 in this run alone. Literally everything that could have happened has happened in this run. I had to take a breather at this point. I took a screenshot and sent it to Plonk before coming back and using my Master Ball on it. Worthwhile if you ask me. I named it Why the F Not, saved the game, I don't know, about 1 million times before leaving the island to get back on with it. Getting back on with it involved heading to fight Archie, who, just like Maxie, was ever so slightly a complete and utter joke of a fight, before heading to Satopolis to watch the end of the world unfold. I mentioned earlier about the Satopolis glitch,
Similar to the Satopolis glitch.
and this is it. If you use Walk Through Walls to speak to Steven from the side, you learn that the Cave of Origin actually refers to Kyogre's arse. Inside its echoing hallways, we find Wallace, who we tell to tell us to meet him on Sky Pillar. Yes, that does make sense, think it through for a second. Up there we awaken Yaddle's Force-sensitive vibrator, who shimmies away to save the day in what is my all-time favourite Pokemon cutscene so far. Given the fact that I'm still worked up about the Mirage Island shiny, let's watch it, shall we? That is just beautiful, and just long enough for me to compose myself once more. Our final gym leader awaits now, the masterful Juan. Juan leads off with a love disc, an easy enough victim to our strategy. Even getting confused with Lovely Kiss, Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger prove more than enough, allowing us to get double teams in place and ushering in the next Pokemon, Celio. This is a good warm up to Glacier, and it's a promising start with 0 damage done to us and 1 less seal to go on club. Kingdra is a pain as it knows rest, but I got really lucky and it set up double teams, still fell prey to Toxic and swaggered itself to death 2 hits on the bounce. Compared to Kingdra, Whiscash is a lot less intimidating, and rightly so, as the one successful Earthquake does next to nothing before it goes down, leaving us with only Crawdon. Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger all do the business, and it can't make a dent in our armour with Crabhammer, meaning we've beaten all 8 gyms and now only have 7 more important fights ahead of us. The first of these are against Wally in Victory Road. I was really worried that his Altaria would become a wall, especially when it began setting up dragon dances and immediately after a safeguard. I thought I was screwed here, so I began spamming literally anything I could think of, double teams even though Aerial Ace could hit, Toxic just hoping the safeguard was over, anything. Eventually, I'm down to 19 HP and the Toxic finally gets set up. One more Aerial Ace and I'm done. Swagger is set up, and at the vital moment I needed it, Altaria hits itself in confusion and is taken out. I'm not out of the woods yet though, as God of War is second. 1 psychic attack and I'm toast. Instead, it uses Future Sight, allowing for much needed seed recovery, followed by Toxic and Swagger as it sets up double teams. It doesn't matter though, as it is defeated just after setting up another Future Sight. Stupidly for Wally, he sends in Delcatty rather than Roselia, meaning I can once again set up Leech Seed and effectively forget about the incoming Future Sight. Catty doesn't realistically stand a chance after that, and ultimately takes itself out with Confusion, leading to Magneton. This fight is no different to Watson, in fact it might even be easier. T-Bolt does nothing in terms of damage, and in fact Magneton hits itself 3 times in a row to take itself out once again. Finally, Roselia does come to play, which really took no time at all to get rid of. Swagger is the only move I can use against it, and fortunately for me, it took next to no time to defeat itself. With Wally out of the way, only the Elite 4 and the Champion stand in my way. I put my HM slaves in the PC and head in with only my shinies on my team, because you know me, it's all about getting that final ending shot. Unfortunately, this decision screwed me, and screwed me hard. I made the mistake of saving in front of Sydney, and this turned out to be the worst thing of the bunch. Initially, I went in at level 76 with both shinies not fainted. I didn't think it would matter, it doesn't usually. How wrong I could be. It took me an embarrassing amount of time getting hit with Raw before I even thought about intentionally fainting, going into Victory Road and getting them KO'd. But I did, and then went in and suffered continuously. My Tiana knows Sand Attack and it likes to use it. If we get hit by many of those, it makes the battle next to, and I'm going to say it, reasonably impossible when we reach Absol, Shiftry and Cacturn in particular. Absol knows Swords Dance and most importantly, Aerial Ace. Let me tell you how much of a pain this is. I need to set up Seed, Toxic and Swagger and have all the attacks miss to be within any chance. The Shiftry being part grass type leaves us with no way to recover HP. Couple that with it knowing double team and hating to get hit by Toxic, we find ourselves dead pretty quickly. Even if we get through that, Cacturn is the same, but it knows Feint Attack, which does much more damage than you'd think it would. I died over and over here, and I struggled to think of what to do. And then it hit me that I was without a held item. So I went away, collected the leftovers, and came back. I forgot to feint the shinies again, #Breff's a pleb, so I had to take the L one more time to fix that before I took on Sydney for real. I start with double team, forget leech seed, I need to miss the sand attacks, which I do. Double edge hurts, but leftovers handle that issue quite nicely. I then set up the seed, the swagger and the toxic, getting hit by a single sand attack and that was it. Shiftry comes out and I'm at full health, 6 double teams up and feeling good. Toxic lands and starts chipping away, as does swagger. Although it gets a single double team up, it hits itself in confusion twice and knocks itself out. Absol next, and my position hasn't changed from Shiftry. I start with toxic, followed by seed just to get that little bit extra toxic damage off before risking aerial ace destruction by using swagger. The risk didn't pay off as both aerial aces land, dealing crushing damage even with seed and leftovers. It does faint, but the situation is bad with us at half health and Cacturn out next. We get hit a few times by feint attack, but ultimately we get lucky and it goes down. Crawdaunt is last and thank God its strength missed. 1 Swords Dance and it did a ridiculous amount. Fortunately, the worst is behind us and Sydney is defeated. Next on the list is Phoebe. We had to reset once because of curse and there was no way to heal more damage than it dealt. But otherwise, she wasn't so bad. We set up double teams first on Dusclops who opts for Shadow Punch due to the never miss mechanic. A good manipulation of AI there, as I'd learned in the run that if my evasion is up, the AI tend to go for never miss moves over anything else, including curse, excluding Winona. I then stagger it, toxic it, leech seed it, and have to repeat it because she used a full restore. Yes, it was annoyingly long on that one Pokemon. Not to worry, she brings out Banette next, presumably keeping her other Dusclops as a treat for later. But it worked in our favour, we dodged the Psychic and Seed, Toxic and Swagger damage it out of the fight. She then decides to send in her treat and it goes down a hell of a lot easier than the first one, let me tell you. Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger is a brutal combination when it all comes off, and although it took some time, Ice Beams did next to nothing, Shadow Balls did next to nothing, and her Dusclops did next to nothing. The second Banette now, and much like the first one, this wasn't so tough. It drained a full restore and liked to spam feint attack, but on this thing it didn't do much damage thankfully. Sableye is final and much like the others, the strategy prevails and all things considered, Phoebe wasn't actually that tough to beat. Glacier was worrying given the ice type vibe that's going on here, but as you'll see, Bulba bitch didn't take no prisoners. The first CDO was as easy as you like, setting up hail and then hitting us with what were, in the grand scheme of things, completely pathetic ice balls and the like. It feints with no issues at all, and I thought the same thing would happen with the second Celio. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. Thank God we got that leech seed up because the first blizzard freezes us. If it wasn't for the seed and leftovers, I wouldn't have been able to hang on here. No chance at all. I get battered by a blizzard and it hurts like hell. I thaw out quickly enough though and get one solitary double team off before the next blizzard comes in and freezes me again. I then have to sit through 6 turns of being frozen, all while her Celio has been restored to full health. It gave up on blizzard at some point, mind you, thank God. It probably ran out of PP. But it allowed us to get our health back to spam double teams until I was at maximum evasion, and from that point I set up Toxic and Swagger and waltzed on to Walrein. Usually its ice beams are run killers, but this time they bounce off Venusaur like they're Nerf bullets. It was so satisfying to watch, but in conjunction with everything else, her statement Pokemon was the easiest member of her team so far. Last up, there are 2 Glalie, and with no full restores, toxic damage chipping away and getting incrementally stronger, Leech Seed recovering our HP and Swagger to boot, the third Elite Four member is defeated, leaving only Drake in our way. Unique to the Elite Four, Drake's Shelgon presents an opportunity we haven't seen before, the opportunity to safely set up. It almost always goes for Protect first, allowing us to safely get a double team off. In fact, we got all 6 off, being hit by only a single solitary Rock Tomb. The speed drop was annoying, but not something that concerned me much. From there, we set up the Seed, the Toxic, and the Swagger as usual, and just wasted turns. Flygon came out next and immediately went for Earthquake and missed, allowing the Seed to go up scot-free. And to be brutally honest, apart from a full restore making me set everything up again, that was the most eventful thing in the battle with it. When Altaria came out, I thought I could be a little carefree with my Swagger use, a decision I almost instantly came to regret. Fortunately, I got super lucky with confusion damage and was able to recover most of my lost health. Salamence actually turned out to be really straightforward to deal with, as after tanking a single flamethrower, it didn't hit me again and I had full health by the time it fainted, setting me up perfectly for the final Pokemon. That Pokemon is Kingdra, and getting hit by 2 Smokescreen made this a lot more infuriating, but I got the Seed up, which meant I knew it was just a matter of time. I managed to somehow get a Toxic up as well, but Drake held a full restore for this and made me try and set up again, which eventually I did, and won the fight, moving on to the champion. Wallace is the final hurdle and I have never been more ready. I begin by setting up a double team on Wailord as I knew it had Blizzard. A Blizzard I subsequently tanked and didn't get hit by again. Once I was +6 to evasion, I set up the Seed as it launched the Rain, followed by the Toxic, the Swagger, and having to somehow cope with Water Spout. Wallace used the full restore on Wailord, which was stupid as I'm fairly sure it's out of Blizzard PP now, allowing me to set up the effects again and just kill moves. In the end, it hit itself with confusion and went down. Milotic makes a rare appearance in second place, probably because of Ice Beam, but this thing also has Recover, which will make my life difficult, but allow toxic damage to creep up when we get it going. We got frozen from the first Ice Beam and had to sit the full 7 turns before thawing. In the middle of it, Milotic got into that Recover spam, and eventually we were able to set up the Toxic and Swagger to begin the waiting game once more. And trust me, it was a long wait. I had hoped Swagger would do more, but no, we had to sit through incessant Recover stall, but deep down knowing we were only waiting for Toxic to do its thing made the wait a lot more bearable. Tentacruel was third and immune to Toxic while packing a powerful Ice Beam in its arsenal. We actually learnt that Sludge Bomb was far more brutal against us despite being neutral damage. Not really surprising given physical defense is Venusaur's worst defensive stat, but hey, it died nicely, letting us focus on Whiscash. Leech Seed, Swagger, and then Toxic was my order, hoping for confusion damage to hit, but we got unlucky and ended up with a full restore being used. Second time around though, we got the hit we needed and poison damage finished it off, leaving only Gyarados and Ludicolo left between us and the Hall of Fame. The Dragon Serpent was my next foe, with Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger being the order. Once again, we didn't get lucky enough and a full restore set us back to square one. This time around, we get 2 confusion hits on the fly, which more than makes up for it in my books. The pineapple looking part grass type thing is the final challenge and I wasn't worried. Wallace had used all his full restores and the second Toxic landed, I sat back, smiled and just waited for the fireworks. Before long, we'd done it. We'd beaten Pokemon Emerald's no attacking moves challenge with only a single Pokemon. With that, we take our rightful place in the Hall of Fame. Bulbabitch looking graceful in its final form, flanked either side by a shiny Slugma, a shiny Wynot, and the memory of what might just be the luckiest run I've ever had. But it isn't over yet. There's one final challenger to defeat. Deep in the bowels of Meteor Falls, he waits. Stephen Stone, the only man that could stop me. The only man who can consistently and reliably counter my Toxic. Well, I'll make this brief. I tried at my current level, and I tried at many other levels. I ultimately found I gained more traction at level 96 than anywhere else, and here is my best attempt. Skarmory leads, and it's the epitome of everything I hate in this run. Immune to Toxic, with a never miss stab Aerial Ace on its set. I set up Leech Seed and get a decent chunk of damage dealt to me. I then set up 6 double teams first before I try Swagger and need what can only be described as pretty damn good luck. I'm at half health with a full restore drained and Swagger set up. I needed to never be hit by Aerial Ace and I got so lucky, and not for the first time in this run. 3 confusion hits in a row and Armaldo's coming out. Thanks to Leech Seed, I was at full health and it looked promising. One half of my channel mascots comes with Aerial Ace as well, annoyingly, but it's not immune to Toxic and the damage ramps up nicely. I expected a full restore, but it never came. Swagger hit though, as did Confusion, so the result was the same. Claydol is no different to Tate and Liza, only stronger and much scarier. Leech Seed, Toxic and Swagger are met with Reflect, a decently powerful Earthquake and a full restore. It was touch and go, but we survived those Earthquakes and took it down. I was convinced I'd taken too much damage though, so I just went through the motions with Metagross, setting up a Leech Seed and Swagger. But I didn't get hit until my health was practically full, and let me tell you, I'm glad that it was. That Meteor Mash left me on 16 HP. Luckily for me, that was it, and the very next turn it hurt itself in confusion and was taken down by Leech Seed damage. When Aggron came out, I started to believe. I was believing more than I'd ever believed before. I set up the Seed and the Swagger and watched as its health decreased while mine increased. I watched as a full restore was used. I watched as it missed move after move. I watched it hit a decent Earthquake on us. I watched it go down to 1 HP and another full restore being used. I watched turn after turn as I dodged and weaved attack after attack, taking only a couple of strikes as turn after turn he hit himself in confusion, and in the end, when the dust had settled, I watched as Aggron went down in defeat. Cradilly was all that was left. Grass type and immune to my HP recovery, boasting Ingrain on its own moveset and my one and only hurdle left in this game. I got Toxic up and watched as he planted his roots. I got Swagger up and finally I got the luck. Cradilly hit itself and that, as they say, is that. Yeah, I did it. I beat Pokemon Emerald with a legitimate no attacking moveset. I say legitimate because Venusaur can learn all of these moves without any further input. The struggle is getting to level 7 with Bulbasaur, but thankfully, once done, the game really does become a new struggle, a new challenge, a new way to play. In some aspects it's easier, in others it's much more brutal. I recommend you give it a go, and I think you'll find it's a new, fun way to play. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. Your support and time is so greatly appreciated. Please do hit that like button, leave a comment down below and share this video with whoever. If you're not subscribed, then please do hit that button to show your support. Huge thank you to the channel members, and once again to all of you for watching. I hope you're staying safe, I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to seeing all of you, and hopefully some more, in the next one.